paid good money to see this movie. When they go out to a theater, they want cold sodas, hot popcorn, and no monsters in the projection booth.
Everyone pretend podcasting isn't boring.
Turn it off. Turn it off.
Hey folks, welcome to a special episode of The Projection Booth. I'm your host, Mike White. On this episode, I'm talking with Jackson Cooper. He is the executive director of AGFA, that is the American Genre Film Archive. If you are a film fan, I am sure you are very familiar with a lot of their titles. They had quite a few playing at the Fantastic Fest in Austin this year. Sat down with Jackson while he was down at the festival. Talked a little bit about AGFA, what they've done, and what they are going to do. Got some exciting news ahead. Thank you so much for listening, and I hope you enjoy the interview. Jackson Cooper, tell me a little bit more about yourself. Before you mentioned that you were a theater kid, and it looks like you've been involved in the theater for a long time.
Quite a while. I would say film, specifically genre cinema, horror movies and such. I was a kid discovering musicals with watching The Nightmare Before Christmas when I was 4 years old and just completely falling in love with this Gothic imagery and this sort of really scary but lovable characters and having some pretty kick-ass songs by Danny Elfman. So that's truly where it started. And so throughout my entire career, it was always like working in the arts and specifically nonprofit spaces while also being a huge film buff, film programmer, film writer. And when I came to this role as executive director of AGFA, it felt like such a perfect fit. It's an incredible organization, and I'm just really honored to be in this position.
For people who might not be familiar with it, what is AGFA and what's your mission?
So AGFA stands for the American Genre Film Archive. We were founded 15 years ago this year by Tim League, who is the founder of Alamo Drafthouse Cinemas, and a sort of merry band of genre film lovers in Alamo Drafthouse. The mission is to preserve, promote, and protect the legacies of the greatest genre films and their filmmakers. So we preserve physical film, 35, 16, and VHS and SVHS in our archive, which is located in Austin, Texas. We do in-house restorations and protect the legacies of these films through restoration efforts and then putting those out on our Blu-ray label, which is distributed by Ocean Vinegar Syndrome. And then we promote the greatest genre films through theatrical distribution arm. So we gain a lot of theatrical rights from our partner labels at Arrow, Severin, Vinegar Syndrome. And we work directly with art houses and film festivals all across the globe to just bring genre and repertory cinema to a whole new generation. So it's really cool. And we're very unique because we're a nonprofit. So all of our work is really rooted within a mission and sort of the mission of using how genre has been used by specifically underrepresented filmmakers, so BIPOC, Asian, feminist, queer filmmakers to express themselves. And our work is there to make sure that their legacies are protected and that more people know about them.
How do you choose which films you're going to restore and put out on Blu-ray?
We have an incredible small but mighty team that between all of us, we have such an insane amount of film knowledge and film history, and not just those of us who know the name of the fourth gaffer from the right in a Paramount film, but also why Poverty Row horror films are as important to the history of film as Jaws, right? That's how our team operates. So we can name the fourth gaffer from the left, but we also can go on and on about the impact of a movie like Mom and Dad, for instance, or Bat Pussy or Zodiac Killer. We have acquired over the years quite a number of films and their respected licensing and rights that we just have in our archive that has not been scanned or restored quite yet. So we usually go from that list of what is available, and then we all have a conversation over the course of probably 2 to 3 months at the beginning of the year to plan for the following year of what our home video schedule is. And we take into account everybody's opinion in every department. So restoration has to, say what is available. Our creative team, we go in and say what could appeal to audiences. Theatrical, our incredible head of theatrical, Brett, always knows what art houses and audiences are looking for and trying to get ahead of it. So we spend a lot of time just puzzle piecing these in based on all of those different factors. And then we emerge with a full calendar of what we're going to restore, which is about, I would say, we used to do about 12 to 15, if I'm not mistaken. And now we do pretty much one a month now. So about 10 to 12. Yeah.
That's pretty remarkable. That's got to be quite a pipeline of work you have going.
It is. And I think it's very fulfilling because we all work together on curating the lineup. I should also mention it's all through our mission lens. We all do look at it and say, is this reflecting our mission? And is it also something we want to work on? I think there's a significant personal investment from the team in the work because, yes, while it is a lot, it's also exciting after that because we've curated a lineup that all of the departments would go, oh, this gets me excited or this title's exciting. And so we get to do that. And it's really unique and also really exciting. Mm-hmm.
Now, I don't want to ask you what some of your favorite restorations are because I'm sure that's like, who are your favorite children? But
I love all my children equally.
Yeah. But what are some of the ones where you're just like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad we brought this out. I'm so glad more people have access to this.
It's incredible the work we do because with our work, we are carving out this sort of new film history of sorts, saving these films. And we are but a microcosm among other great labels like Severin and Arrow and Vinegar Syndrome, which are also doing the great work. I will say the things personally I'm most proud of are our collaboration with Something Weird Video, which has been a long time partnership with Mike Rainey and now Mike's widow, Elisa Petrucci. That's been such a fulfilling partnership and something that every single year, every time we work on a Something Weird release, it is one of the most fruitful and fulfilling partnerships because Lisa's just a wonderful partner. And the films are just so great because most of those films are why we all got into what we got into. And so we just put out the restoration and mixtape of the Hey Folks, This Intermission Time VHS that many people were big fans of. And it did gangbusters. And we got to, the team did a mixtape of it, namely our creative director, Joe Ziemba, and Brett Berg, our head of theatrical. That was such a really incredible, release because of the reaction to it. It sold out within the first 2 hours, 2,000 copies just gone. We love stuff like that because it's a fulfilling partnership. And then also we get to be surprised. I'll also say personally, I'm really proud of the box sets we've done of filmmakers' work. So the Doris Wishman box sets are pretty remarkable. Our work with John Mortsugo and putting out his box set, including one of my favorite movies that we have, Terminal USA, the greatest film no one's ever seen, or people haven't seen yet, I should say. I think our filmmaker box sets are ones I'm really proud of. And I can talk about this because it's going to happen, but we're about to restore the films of George and Mike Kuchar, and we're working directly with the Kuchar Trust to restore those. So I'm very excited and looking forward to that work. Yeah.
Is everything that you restore, is that all part of your archive already, or do you actually reach out and bring in other prints?
There's a combination of both. It's primarily things that we already own, but in the sense of like the Kuchars or, if I remember correctly, the Wishmen too, it was that we worked directly with whether either the filmmakers themselves or whoever owns the materials and the rights to send us the elements to scan, to restore. So in the case of the Kuchars, we'll be loaning those elements from them to work on the restoration. But primarily things like the Something Weird collaborations, some of our VHS and other restorations, those are things that we own in the archive already.
And then not only do you do both the Blu-ray releases, also theatrical runs of things, but then from what I understand, people can hire you to do restorations themselves.
Yeah, we just paid off for a 4K scanner. So we now own a great, beautiful, wonderful scanner, which is here in the AGFA offices where I'm at. And so, yes, we do lab work for folks. Yeah, if they need a print scanned or just like a 2K scan or a 4K scan, we can do that. We work closely with people like Drafthouse Films and other Kino and a few other partners to scan prints and things like that, which has been great.
So you're talking about this being your 15th anniversary and the screenings that you're doing at Fantastic Fest, and must be a little bit of like a homecoming with the ties between Alamo and Fantastic and then AGFA.
Yeah, absolutely. Alamo and Fantastic Fest have always been partners, still are incredible partners, and talk about fulfilling partnerships and relationships. We all have some connection to Drafthouse, whether we worked for them. I used to program a monthly film series with them when I was in Raleigh, North Carolina. I like to say that all of us, we're all on the same team, right? And so it's been really great. Yeah, I think for Fantastic Fest this year, it was very fun to curate because not only is there this circus carnival theme, which brings out the weirdest and wildest movies often, if anything said in a carnival. But if there's a fucking clown, it's just like a crazy film already. And we also use this as a way of showcasing our new restorations. And so we just acquired a film and restored it, which will be premiering, called Satan War, which is this very DIY Amityville satanic panic spinoff by Bart LaRue. And it's going to be a lot of fun screening these things. And yeah, for our 15th, we wanted to showcase sort of the breadth of what we do. So working with partners like Severin, that's the Ray Dennis Steckler film, and their beautiful restoration. Carnival Blood, which was our own restoration, gorgeous, that premiered at Fantastic Fest a few years ago. An archival 35 of Johnny Toe's The Mission, a largely underseen but highly incredible and underrated action film. Like that showcases our archive work. And then you see upcoming restoration and Satan War. So it was really fun to be very thoughtful with how we curated this year's lineup. Yeah.
Do you have a wish list of things that you wish you could get your hands on and restore?
Oh my God, so many. But the beauty of what we do and working with people like Vinegar Syndrome and Severin is if we don't get it, then someone else gets it. So either way, we're all on the same team. It's not a competition. We're all communicating, and it's a beautiful community that way. For me personally, I would love us to put out Michael Mann's The Keep, the uncut version, the lost version. It's not particularly genre, but I think I could convince Elaine May to give us her 3-hour cut of A New Leaf to at least scan. I would love, I shot Andy Warhol, a lost film. There's quite a bit of lost 50s films as well that I'd like to get. And Janice did a beautiful restoration many years ago of my favorite films of all time, Equinox. So I would love for us to put out a 4K of that at some point. And there's quite a few Something Weird titles that we have that I'm excited about when we get the opportunity to put those out. It'll be a good day to do. And I will say, like, the Kuchar project is going to be huge. And that's been a dream come true, especially as the queer person, a queer weirdo myself. George and Mike were very formidable in my early days of learning about genre and the history of experimental film, the history of outsider art. So it's the dream come true doing that box set. Yeah.
Early queer films like Jack Smith and some of those, even like getting your hands on like a Scarecrow in the Garden of Cucumbers or something. That would be such a huge coup.
We're putting out Scarecrow in the Garden of Cucumbers.
Fantastic.
Yeah, we're putting out Scarecrow in the Garden of Cucumbers on Blu-ray next year.
Oh, that's wonderful. I'm so glad to hear that.
Yeah, we worked directly with the Academy Film Archive on that restoration. We have it in our theatrical now. We're putting it out on Blu-ray next year.
Well, it's got to be tough for you guys. I mean, you talked about how you have a new 4K scanner, but it's like technology is constantly evolving. I mean, what's going to be next after that?
We've chatted a little bit about this as a staff, more so as a board. And I've been to conferences and on panels talking about restoration and preservation, where the very obvious question everybody is asking us, like, how is AI going to integrate in restoration? And the thing that we really are proud of, and I won't speak for our partner labels, but I know we all probably share this sentiment and value, which is that for restoration and preservation work, it is all personal. So a machine will not be able to replace a person physically going in and restoring. I think AI and there will be tools that will help streamline the process. One of my board members who is an archivist did talk about that it's not going to be for a while. And at any rate, we do see it being beneficial for things like dirt and scratch removal, things that do take up quite a bit of time before you actually get to the meaty work of color grading and sound and things like that. There could be some tools with that, but nothing has been on the market or evolving yet. Everything's still up in the air and just thought and idea at this point. But it'll be interesting to see how things evolve.
Tell me a little bit more about the theatrical arm. I'm very curious how people are able to rent the prints and actually get these things out there.
Yeah, so we have a print and digital available. If DCP is not available, we have Blu-ray, of course. For theatrical, we have quite a bit of prints in our archive. We have a lot of prints that were donated to us over the years or deposited from film libraries and from collectors and such. So there are opportunities for people to book those prints. I will say that it goes without saying that 35 millimeter, sadly, is becoming less and less prominent in the exhibition world. We're starting to do some work on the back end as a nonprofit, just encourage a bit more 35, including increasing our 35 millimeter traffic and striking new prints and doing things like that to just encourage venues to show it more because it is part of the experience. I was a projectionist when I was in high school of 35, right before the digital turnover. There's still nothing like seeing a movie on film. And then we have our theatrical, we have a bunch of prints that people can book and rent. And if they want to, they have to reach out to us directly because we have a whole separate list of those prints. But then on our website, you can find our catalog, which is AGFA plus many other film libraries, including our partner labels, Severin, Arrow, Vinegar Syndrome Factory. We do theatrical distribution on their behalf, which is why AGFA, maintains the theatrical distribution of Arrow's beautiful restoration of Donnie Darko. So anytime Donnie Darko wants to screen, it goes through us. And I think our unique positioning as a nonprofit allows us creating so many partnerships, not just with libraries and collections, but also the art houses themselves. We have an incredible head of theatrical distribution, Brett Berg, who is literally the person booking all of the films and communicating with the venues. And Brett's a programmer as well, a film programmer. So he not only books it and processes the rental, but he also is managing all of these relationships and working with microcinemas who are just emerging or very established organizations with big membership bases like American Cinema, the Academy Museum. And not just saying, here's the film that we have, but hey, you showed this film, check out this other film in our archive. So really helping to curate it. And that's very important to us. Also as a nonprofit, being that sort of connector and partner for theaters that are reaching a moment now where repertory is coming back and theaters are trying to figure out how to bring audiences back off their couch and into the movie theater. And I think it does a really good job helping to provide films that are unique and interesting to get people into the theaters.
How many people are part of AGFA?
Staff is, there's 6 of us right now, and we're growing for literally everything, for restoration, marketing, fundraising, theatrical, finance. There's 6 of us. So we are a small but mighty team, and it's great, but we're growing. So it's exciting. And also we're never without something to do, I like to say. Yeah, we have our nonprofit board of directors, which oversees the strategy and the financial health of the organization. So they're my boss as the executive director. And yeah, we're in a growth period. So we'll be growing and adding more people over the next few years, which is exciting. And also I think is good for us sustainability wise for the long term.
I got to tell you, I'm looking forward to all things AGFA coming out. This is great hearing about some of these new titles, and just the work that you guys have been doing is just so mind-blowing and such an important part of our community.
Thank you. We're really grateful, and we have so many things in our collection and archive that have yet to be restored, have yet to be put out. So we joked the other day in a staff meeting, we'll have enough stuff to get us through this lifetime and many others afterwards. So the work of AGFA will continue from now to the end of eternity. And that's something that's really incredible. I pinch myself when I think about that. Yeah.
You mentioned that you're also a writer. Do you have any writing projects coming up?
Yeah, I'm working on a book on the history of midnight movies and this idea of outsider art and how merry bands of misfits and outsiders created the midnight movie craze. And then working on a book on Rocky Horror Picture Show in honor of the 50th anniversary next year. And then in early stages of a book on Danny Elfman. So yeah, I like to stay busy. So we're busy at AGFA, and then I go home and busy with my own projects. So it's great. It's fun.
We mentioned Scarecrow in the Garden of Cucumbers, and there's that whole Midler tie-in, and then Ben Miller.
Yes, and Lily Tomlin too.
And then with Ben being married to one of the Kipper kids, and then them being in the Forbidden Zone, it feels like all of that art was all coming together during the 70s. And just, I can't wait for you to unravel that when it comes to Danny Elfman.
The interview, I've been a fan since I was 4. And I also just think for Danny, he's probably one of the most talented film composers working today, next to people like Thomas Newman and Hans Zimmer, of course. But also, yeah, Danny just was in the middle of everything, and not just with the underground scene, but in Hollywood too. The evolution of Hollywood and also the sound of Hollywood, like soundtracks really changed from by the time he was writing Pee-wee's Big Adventure all the way through. Like Batman was a game changer, but then he wrote something like Edward Scissorhands and then Nightmare Before Christmas, and it completely changed the game, all of the stuff he did. But even his lesser known things like Dolores Claiborne and Nightbreed are just so fucking good, and just he deserves a lot more credit than I think he gets. And he gets a lot of credit. People love him, but I think he needs to be heralded as a genius. I don't use that term lightly. So I was really excited to dive into starting some early research on that book. It'll be fun to write. I'm excited.
Like you, I worked at a movie theater as well when I was coming up, and we used to play soundtracks all the time in the lobby, including that, I can't remember the name of it, something about Darkened Theater, the greatest hits of Danny.
Music for a Darkened Theater. He was 1 and 2. Yes, the best.
I recognize this, but he also did Midnight Run. This is crazy, and it's such a different style.
Run.
Yeah.
It's Summersby, Black Beauty. He did so much stuff. And yeah, Music for a Darkened Theater, that's a pretty remarkable 2-volume set, just because you hear the familiar, but then you also hear these not so well-known Elfman works that are just as good, maybe a little bit better than some of his more popular things. Like I said, Summersby has this one track that I was just like, this is one of the most beautiful things I've ever heard. And yeah, you also see the range of filmography throughout Hollywood history, that he's doing these big budget, the Batmans and the Edward Scissorhands, but then he's also doing the Gus Van Sant films. He's doing To Die For and Good Will Hunting, and then venturing into television with Tales from the Crypt. There's just such a good history with his filmography. It's pretty remarkable. Yeah.
I wish I had 1% of the royalties he's probably made off of The Simpsons.
He went on Mark Maron's podcast and he said the reason he gets the royalties, and I hope I'm remembering this correctly, was he sang The Simpsons. He's one of the 3 who sing that. And so that's how he gets much of the royalties, is from that. Yeah. Because he sang on it. I know. So I was in, and it's pretty incredible. But yeah, people don't know that he wrote it. When they learn that the guy who wrote Edward Scissorhands wrote The Simpsons and Tales from the Crypt, it's pretty remarkable. Yeah. A long, incredible career.
Is there a good place online for people to keep up with you and your work?
You can follow AmericanGenreFilm.com, sign up for our email list. You can follow us on Instagram at AGFA, AGFA, on Facebook as well. My social is the.JacksonCooper on Instagram. So you can see my other lives that I live, but I would just point people to following AGFA so that you can keep up with the work that we do.
Fantastic. Jackson, thank you so much. And I hope you have a great festival.
Yeah, thanks, Mike. Appreciate it.